Why do you think that some leaders hide from funding their vision? And then how can those leaders then lean into funding that vision?
Oh, that's a big question, Harry. I think that there's a lot of mindset that comes into play. And I think
Mhm.
that whilst they are a leader, sometimes their mindset gets the better of themselves in terms of imposter syndrome, in terms of am I worthy enough? And I think that they just kind of play small. And sometimes, yes, they have a vision, but are they willing to make it their life mission? And I think
Mm.
that's probably why they hide from it. It could be too big, too scary, and they just end up playing small and really kind of hold back from funding their vision with going, I guess, playing all out.
That's a great insight. Let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So, have you gone through that phase yourself in your VA business?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, I knew that I needed something else to break through that revenue ceiling.
Mm.
And I didn't know what it was, to be quite fair. I was just like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying lots of different things, but I just can't see how you can get past there. And I think it was the moment that I decided to fund my vision
Hmm.
and actually invest in development, invest in myself, that I realized that there's so much more I could do. And once I had done the work, and it's quite interesting, I went into a room, I paid some money, and I thought that I was paying for business coaching. It's just what I thought it was. It ended up being NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. So, really kind of supporting that mindset shift and breaking through all of those limiting beliefs, all of the generational trauma. And that changed everything for me.
Mm.
I started to value myself, I started to believe in myself. And pretty much from there was no stopping the vision, but also funding it. So I went on and invested in master practitioner training and became a master coach. And then since then, have also invested in many different coaches to support me in my growth so I can show up more for my vision and for my clients and impact them more, as well as investing in the right support into my business and really, learning all those things that you do as a CEO. And, you can't do everything yourself, and bringing in the experts to support your business rather than, playing in that lack mentality. Oh, I just need to get somebody in cheap to support in, social media or, ads. And, I certainly learned that the hard way in the beginning by not investing in the experts. So not only investing in myself, but also investing in the right support to be able to grow the business further.
That's a very, very powerful statement. A lot of times, and I think almost every entrepreneur in the early ages is guilty of that, of trying to cut corners in recruiting the right people because we don't understand the value of our own time and the value of someone else's time, and they come in from an expertise standpoint. And that's one of the reasons most entrepreneurs and leaders don't win, because there's so much nuances that we look past, that we want to control, and the hats we want to wear, that things don't align the way they should because our lack of leadership. So what was the result of you funding your vision with clarity in mind, and overcoming those obstacles that you had? Like, what was the result of that?
So not only was I able to show up for myself every single day and know that, I can create whatever I want to create in my life, it was the ability to be able to support my clients in a deeper level. And through the coaching that I offer, not only do I offer them business coaching, but because I have done the change work and I've learned how we can retrain our mind and, really push past all those limiting beliefs, that that's what I get to support them with. And that's why I feel like I'm different from most coaches. I don't just teach them how to do the business, I teach them in the way that they can do the business so that they are the leader and they get to make the change. Because there's only so much strategy you can learn. And until you adopt the right mindset to it, then sometimes it can be counterproductive. So you can teach strategy till the cows come home. But if the clients have got imposter syndrome or all of those limiting beliefs come up, it's very hard for them to make the change to actually adopt the strategies to move forward.
Tell me more about that. That's very interesting, and you touch a very good point that you can teach them all the strategies in the world, but if their mindset is in the right place, um, they will struggle to grow either way. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so essentially through the training that I've done, it allows them to really look at things in a very different way. So it's more about sort of retraining your mind, and really kind of rather than looking at the past and feeling a bit of victim mentality to, the way that we brought up, or, having that feeling of, not good enough, not worthy enough, really supporting them to make that change so that they feel empowered and that they are good enough and they are worthy enough to, charge the higher rates or to try and find those premium clients in their business. And then they are able to adopt that mindset to really kind of support them to grow, because sometimes they're just, a lot of people get stuck. So having a lot more resources at their fingertips to be able to draw on that, anything from, some meditation to breath work, some hypnotherapy to help them as well. But, really kind of just doing a lot more of those mindful practices to adopt on a daily basis. It really supports the clients to, just know who they are and know where they're going and, tap into their vision every single day.
This is a hard question, and um, if you don't want to answer it, it's totally fine. But what results has your client seen by adapting that mindset?
Oh, yeah, totally happy to answer that one. So, not only do they show up in a very different way, it's interesting, the transformation. I've got one particular client. She was very much had big goals, but just kept on doing the same thing and wasn't getting the same results. And when we had our retreat in Bali in, when was it, October, changed everything from her. We really tapped into what was holding her back, why it was holding her back, and really allowing her to tap into that mission every day. And now that has allowed her, she's literally showing up every single day on social media. She's getting new clients. She's well on her way to getting her financial goals. But she was just stuck in this loop of, oh, I've got these big goals, but I'm not going anywhere. So that's the sort of transformation that we can get. That's more at the moment. It's a showing up and the revenue's coming. With my other clients that have really been tapping into the change. I've got one other particular client as well. She started with me. She's been with me for a year and a half. And the second she decided to go all in to her vision and her business, pretty much within the first month of her resigning, she moved on to make 9K in her business. And then January, she just ticked over 12K in her business per month. So really kind of shifting to those revenue goals. And it's so powerful to see them when they actually quit their 9 to 5 jobs and they go all into their business, that the money can start flowing in because they've got a lot more time to tap into their vision.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Um, the second part of this equation is leadership. I think that's something that's very um, it's not talked about enough in the entrepreneur world because it matters so much, but no one talks about that. No one even focuses much on their focus on these are the things you can do, etc., etc. But according to you, Sasha, what would you say is the definition of a great leader when it comes to an entrepreneur standpoint?
I think it's really about the way that you position yourself in terms of the way that you show up. So I very much like to show up with a positive frame. I do get some clients that bring some negative things to me, and it's really about, well, is that person doing the best that they can? So I had a client the other day say that they received a negative email. So it's just like, well, how can we rise above it? How can we take the feedback and how can we actually take the truth that's in it and be the CEO and adopt it? And I think that's really much about being a great leader, is to look at things from a different point of view rather than a victim mentality. And in terms of the way that we show up for our clients, is show up in the way that they should show up for their clients as well and be that leader. In terms of, one of my biggest things is always showing up with authenticity and integrity. But in terms of, I want to lead this industry into be able to, understand that they can charge their worth, that they have skill sets to present to clients. So when I work with my clients, we teach them to really go after that top tier premium clients. And I want to show up in this industry to show everybody that they can do that, because there is a lot of people down here playing in those $30, $40 rates, and they're spinning the wheels of life. Like it's literally like they're back in their 9 to 5, but they're grinding in their own job. So my vision is to be that leader to kind of guide people through to really kind of have that business that stands the test of time. So I always kind of show up in that way, and where everyone's like, "Oh, I don't believe that we can get those rates." I certainly,
Mm.
buck that trend and really kind of stay true to that. And that's kind of really what my message is, to be like, well, this business can be something that you can do for life. It's not just a bit of a side hustle. So yeah, I very much show up with that, and I continue to share that message to kind of really bring the industry up rather than bring it down and sort of playing this competitive game down here.
Wow, your visions align with what I believe so much. Um, I don't know what the numbers are in United States, sorry, in Australia, but in United States the numbers are pretty staggering when it comes to business lasting 10-year mark. I think 96% of businesses. There's some stats. There's a book called E-Myth, in by Michael Gerber, literally shared that 96% of businesses are failing within the first 10 years in the
Oof.
United States. That's a very bad number. And if you
Yeah.
average that out, it's like 9 out of every 10 businesses are failing. And now let's talk about the bottom feeders. Like most people are focused on those bottom clients rather than building assets, resources, features, templates necessary to grab the market leaders that you need. And that is such a bad mentality, because if you don't go for that, you're never going to survive anyway. Like you cannot,
Correct.
there's always, you can go less and less point, but you're going to hit a ceiling. Are you going to give your services for free to everyone? You can do that. But you can always charge more.
Hmm.
And then most people are like, okay, why would anyone pay more? Can you provide the value that attains with that price? So there's a lot of nuances, and I completely agree with that, because seeing people fight for price rather than value has been a big game changer for the people I work with. I'm sure you've seen the same thing, because you don't want to be in that part. You don't want to be bottom feeding in a market when
Yeah.
you can attract the top level clients. So that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Would you want to add something to that?
I think it's really about, very much coming back to that mission, and getting people to ask the question for themselves: do they actually want a business that is for life? Because if
Mm,
they want a business for life, then they need to adopt these strategies that we talked about, and value over pricing. If they're not all in it, sure, go ahead, play at the bottom of the market, but it's not going to stand the test of time. And I think when somebody has like questions,
mhm,
I always like to revert back to the stats. So like the stat that you just shared, like it
mhm,
just kind of globally lands for everybody. So when I
mhm,
have clients here in Australia, they're like, oh, there's no clients. And I'm like, but there's 2.6 million businesses in the country. You
mhm,
only need, four to six to
mhm.
have enough client base to kind of cover what you might have had in your 9 to 5. So I always like to use those stats. But I guess the question, asking people when they kind of have those imposter syndromes come in, or like, where should I sit with pricing, is, you know, do you want to have a business that lasts 2 years, or do you want to have a business that lasts a lifetime? Because that's, I think, a really great question to ask them for it to land.
I wanna actually add to that. I don't want a business that lasts a long time. I want a business that I can sell, but it
Yes.
sustains itself after I sell it.
Yeah.
Um, like, and after I sell it, if that person wants to sustain it for a lifetime, it's their choice.
Correct.
But my goal is that have a business, um, be able to sold without giving someone a new job, instead of giving someone value. Like no one wants to buy my job, I would say. They would
Yeah.
rather buy a business that's sustaining itself and running for itself. So I think that's the other addition I would add to that. The other part I think you mentioned is very, very important. Um, I think people don't ask good enough questions to themselves, even leaders,
Hmm.
let alone to other people. um, and they put themselves in a box when they don't need to be. Like the example you just gave is like, hey, there's not enough people for me to sell. And then you mentioned, oh, there's 2.5 million people. The question you should be asking is, what am I not doing that I can attract a percentage of those 2.5 people, right?
Correct.
Like if I can get 1% of that, that's 25,000, right? Is that correct? It's 20 or yeah, it's 25,000.
Yeah,
If I get 1% of 2.5 million is 25,000. So what
correct.
do I need to do to get that 25,000?
Yeah,
That's the questions we need to be asking. What is someone else in my space doing that I'm not doing to get to
correct.
that aspect? And most entrepreneurs don't ask that question. They go down to their own mindset game and then go down that rabbit hole, which is not good, which is so not
Yeah.
good. What would you say to some kind of people that way? Like, what would you? How would you help someone in that shoes who's stuck in their own ways?
Yeah. So it's really about what I always like to ask my clients is who is the very much kind of the questions that you said, like, what are you not doing to get those clients? But also, who is the person you need to become that gets those clients?
Mm,
There's a lot of talk at the moment in terms of mindset of, who's your alter ego? And just be your alter ego for a while until it fits, because they're in their own way. So if they work out who their alter ego is and adopt that mentality and that mindset, they'll actually just become that alter ego. And it's a
yes.
really interesting thing. Like a lot of people, like I use Sasha Fierce as my alter ego, or, who is the person or who is the characteristics that you need. And I also tell my clients is surround yourself with the people that you want to become, because they say that you become
Mhm.
like the 5 or 6 people that you hang out with. So be in the rooms with the people that you aspire to be like. And organically, it's like when we're kids, we just feed off of our parents. We very much have so many characteristics, or we say things and then you're like, oh, that just sounds like my mother. It's the same concept. So
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with those leaders, with those visionaries, and with those entrepreneurs, you'll slowly but surely start becoming them. And even my clients are like, every time I make a decision, all I hear is your voice in my head. I'm like, that's just how it rolls, because of the people we surround ourselves with.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.